Hey everybody, my name is Sam. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have you guys really up close and personal and in my face because why the fuck not, right? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to talk to you guys today about audiobooks because I feel like, and maybe it's just me, but I feel like there's like a stigma against audiobooks on BookTube, and I am personally a big fan of audiobooks. And I know I talked in my haul video about how I like to listen to them while I'm working on puzzles at home. I also like to listen to them when I'm at work because I do a lot of solo work on the computer, and audiobooks kind of help me to get in the zone and focus, and they help the time go a little faster. So I wanted to talk to you guys about my favorite audiobooks. I have a list of my top 5 audiobooks that I have listened to on Audible thus far. That's kind of a weirdly narrow criteria, I guess, but whatever. Fuck it. I do sometimes borrow audiobooks from the library as well, but I'm not going to be counting those on this list because I don't know what everybody else's library has available, but I do know that Audible is accessible to most people, so if you did decide you wanted to give any of these 5 books a listen, you'd be able to do that. Great, let's just get into the list, maybe. First on this list, and these are not necessarily in any particular order, although the last one is my all-time favorite. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Lord of the Flies, which is a book by William Golding, and it was actually narrated by the author, which is sometimes a really good thing and sometimes a really bad thing, depending. Not every author has a great voice for narration, but William Golding really, really does. I love the story in Lord of the Flies anyway, and I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I enjoy dystopians and I enjoy coming-of-age stories, and so it's kind of like that, even though it's not really a dystopian, but it is kind of like, what if you were lost to society and left to your own devices, and what kind of shenanigans would you get into? It's also a really short one. I think it's 5 or 6 hours. So, if you have a Sunday afternoon free or something, you can maybe give it a listen. The next one I'm going to talk about is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. This is one of my favorite science fiction books. I talked about it in my last video as well, just the actual book and how I think it has really great original ideas. I also really enjoy the audiobook because it is narrated by James Franco. And honestly, I wouldn't have necessarily expected James Franco to do a great job with Slaughterhouse-Five just because of the kind of story it is, but it was really, really well done, and I really, really liked it. Next is a series. It's not just one book because I don't think that makes sense in the context of this one, but it is the Series of Unfortunate Events books by Lemony Snicket. Most of them are narrated by Tim Curry, who is my favorite audiobook narrator of life, the universe, and everything. He's wonderful. I love Tim Curry in general, but I especially love his narration of audiobooks. He has a great voice for reading, and he's a bit theatrical with it, which is great, and he's perfect for those stories. There are 3 of them in the middle that are narrated by the author, which is also kind of interesting, but even the author was just Tim Curry's doing a better job. Go on with your bad self. But they're really, really good. I love those books anyway, so I guess that's probably part of it, but it's really it's interesting to hear them for audio because not only is Tim Curry's narration really great, and even Lemony Snicket's is really good for the books that he does narrate, but Tim Curry's is just so good. But also Daniel Handler, aka Lemony Snicket, is in a band called the Gothic Archies, and they wrote and performed a bunch of original songs for the audio adaptations of the books. It's just a really cool experience. If you're already a fan of the books, you'd really, really enjoy the audiobooks. Next on my list is Tranny, Confessions of Punk Rock's Most Infamous Anarchist Sellout by Laura Jane Grace and narrated by the author. If you guys don't know who Laura Jane Grace is, she is a trans woman who is the lead singer of the punk band Against Me. I'm a huge fan of Against Me. I've loved them since high school. And I also really enjoy listening to, like, celebrity memoirs and stuff on audio, because a lot of times they're narrated by the author and you get kind of a full experience of their life. This book was really interesting because it tells the story of her getting into the punk scene in general, the beginnings of the band, and her entire experience with gender dysphoria and her transition and how it affected her relationships in her personal life as well as with her fans. And it's just, like, really great. It's also based on, like, journals that she has kept throughout her life. Laura Jane Grace did write this with Dan Ozzie, who is, like, a journalist, like a rock journalist. And so he took a lot of her, like, journal entries and helped put them into a cohesive story that made sense start to finish. I just finished listening to this week and it was so good. And then finally, my favorite audiobook of all time is Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is the audiobook that made me able to listen to audiobooks. It's narrated by a full cast that includes Tim Curry, as well as many other people that I did not write down before I started filming this video, so I apologize for that. But Dracula is an epistolary novel. It's told in letters and journal entries, and the way that they did the full cast recording for it is really, really interesting. It was, if this character is writing this part of the story, that's the voice you're hearing it in. And I thought it was really, really well done. And it really, like, gives you the right feel for the story and everything. It's very immersive, it's very entertaining, and it probably helps that I, like, love that book anyway. But actually, my first time reading that book was partly listening to this audiobook and partly physically reading along on my Kindle. But yeah, those are my top 5 favorite audiobooks of all time. Also, honorable mention goes to any other book I've ever listened to with Tim Curry as a narrator, and also most celebrity memoirs that are narrated by the author. Also books that I really enjoy listening to. I have a ton of them. Let me know what your thoughts are on audiobooks in the comments below. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you think they're cheating? Do you not care? Either way. Have you listened to any of these? If you do listen to audiobooks, let me know what some of your favorites are down in the comments. Have a great day. Bye.